My name is Ava Moreno, and I am 36 years old. The ocean below Rancho Palos Verdes looked like hammered silver, and the resort deck smelled faintly of salt and cut limes. My sister Serena was marrying a man our mother calls perfect because he always arrives with a solution and a receipt. Staff in black moved like quiet birds. Guests in pale colors rehearsed their smiles against the wind. I stood with my camera bag on my shoulder, not because I had been hired, but because people who know you can make you useful without asking. Mother, Margot Whitaker, swept in with a clipboard and the kind of grace that moves chairs 3 inches without anyone noticing. "Ava, sweetheart," she said, aiming the word sweetheart like a pin. "We have placed you near the service doors. It is quieter there, and you will have room for your equipment. It will be lovely if you capture some candid moments. Nothing heavy. Joy." "It is Serena's day," I said. "I would like to sit with the family." "You are with the family," she said, and smiled the way a person smiles when a door has already closed. "Near the audio table there is an extra chair. The view is excellent." The chair was metal and careful. A server placed a glass of water in front of it, as if the emptiness needed a border. From here I could see the head table, the marble cake, the calm height of the cliffs, and our mother's hand on every detail. Serena glowed in a bright, practiced way. Graham, the groom, moved from conversation to conversation as if every person were a rung. I raised my camera and did not take a picture. Behind me, the audio and video team tested the screen for the evening toasts. A young technician asked for the hotel network password and the day's run sheet. "Video messages from the cousins will run during dessert," he said. "If anyone brings a file on a drive or wants to cast from a phone, we will queue it here. Approved items only." "Approved by whom?" I asked. "By the planner," he said, nodding toward my mother, who was placing place cards like chess pieces. The wind shifted. I thought of last month's brunch when I was asked to take photos instead of taking a seat, and the week before that when Mother said, "Ava sees the world differently," in the tone people use when they mean less. I looked at the tall screen, the clean cables, the small gold label on the input that read, "Guest Video." I did not have a plan. I had a feeling. Feelings can grow bones fast when they are hungry. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, a balcony will carry a conversation I was not meant to hear, and the shape of this day will change. I left the metal chair and climbed the shallow steps to a side balcony that wrapped around the ballroom like a ledge. The wind came clean off the water. The balustrade threw neat shadows across the stone. Staff moved through the French doors with trays and the kind of focus that does not invite questions. This was not a private room. It was air. Voices reached me before faces did. Margot stood near a heater with Serena and a man in a suit the color of new asphalt. His tie was quiet. His hair was persuasive. I knew his name from invitations and articles that like to applaud money. Dylan Kincaid. He invests in people and calls the money a story. Margot spoke first, in the smooth register she saves for donors. "Tomorrow at 9, the transfer papers go to the notary. The Ellison Family Foundation will hold the beach condo by summer. The Whitaker Family Trust will show the gift as art support. Everyone wins. The screen tonight will help that narrative. Dylan, your greeting after dessert will make the room behave." Dylan smiled without using his eyes. "I will keep it under 30 seconds, he said. "Investors like a concise blessing. The groom looks presentable. Your daughter photographs well. We will announce the mentorship fund next quarter." Serena tucked a loose curl behind her ear and looked out to the sea where 2 sailboats moved like white stitches. "What about Ava?" she asked, as if the name were a practical item like napkins. Mother keeps asking what to do with her. Nothing, Margot said. She complicates rooms when given a microphone. That is why we gave her a chair by the service doors. She will be thanked for candids and otherwise be invisible. When the board papers circulate, I will present a friendly page for her signature. She will understand that good sisters do not hold the family back. Dylan glanced at his watch. Good, he said. Keep the runway clear. The door opened and Graham stepped out, tie loosened, smile fixed. He kissed Serena on the cheek, shook Dylan's hand, and said to my mother, "They are ready for your seating speech." He did not see me. No one did. They walked inside unchanged by the wind. Far below, the lawn path curved toward a pergola tucked behind hedges. 10 minutes later, I saw Serena there with Dylan, alone, the way people stand when they want to give a story air before they fold it. He leaned too close for a greeting. She touched his sleeve with the familiarity of someone who has done so before. I lifted my camera and took 3 stills from the balcony. No audio, no surprise, just distance and light. Back at the metal chair by the audio table, I watched the technician test the guest video input again. The label shone like a small brass door. A plan rose without heat. I would not argue with a clipboard. I would use a screen. I opened my camera bag, checked batteries, and wrote 1 line in my notebook. No scene. Proof. Then air. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will gather what can live on a screen without breaking a law, and the evening will inherit a different kind of toast. The technician at the audio table wore a headset and the expression of a person who trusts cables more than promises. He checked the guest video input again, then pointed to the run sheet taped beside the mixer. "After dessert, we play the cousins montage," he said. 1 file, 3 minutes maximum. H.264, 1080p, 30 frames. No surprise audio levels. The planner must have approved it. 3 weeks ago, Margot had sent an email to the family list that read, "Please send brief greetings to Ava. She will assemble the cousins video." I had answered yes, and had already cut a harmless reel of childhood clips and quick toasts. The file lived on my drive under a dull name. I had permission, written and neat. The slot was mine. I opened my laptop at the service chair and built a second timeline. I did not add music that someone could claim. I did not add audio I had no right to record. I used only what could stand in daylight. First, the cheerful greetings the cousins had filmed. 30 seconds of uncomplicated love. A child with frosting on her face. A grainy clip of a summer sprinkler. A wave from an aunt in Fresno who always wears turquoise. Then, stills from the balcony where anyone could walk. Serena and Dylan Kincaid by the pergola, close in a way that did not require sound to explain it. A tight crop that showed a hand on a sleeve, and the comfort of people who have repeated a private scene until it no longer feels like a decision. Next, screenshots that were public. Dylan's geotagged story from the resort lawn an hour earlier, with the tag back where decisions get made. Serena's post last month from a private tasting that she accidentally cross-posted to a public gallery. Dylan's reflection in the window behind her held a phone like a mirror. A press blurb about the Ellison Family Foundation's New Arts Initiative, with Serena Whitaker named on a creative advisory council that my parents had never mentioned. Then, the email from Margot asking me to keep the cousins' reel light and to avoid heavy emotions. Her tone would read as good manners. On screen, it would read as control. I added intertitles in clean white type. Public balcony. No audio. Public posts. Public names. No accusations. Only dates. I ended with 30 more seconds of the cousins so that a room full of strangers would remember innocence exists. The total time was 2 minutes and 58 seconds. The file name was Cousins Final V 2.mp4. It was true in more than one sense. "Format check," I said to the technician. He slid me a short cable. I exported, tested playback, and watched the histogram sit where it should. He nodded once. "Levels are clean," he said. He scribbled V2 beside the run sheet line that already carried my name. On the deck, the sun went down behind the water in a way that makes people forgive anything. Serena posed with Graham by a row of glass cylinders that held candlelight like small captives. Margot moved a chair 3 inches and made a server feel grateful for the correction. The head table glittered. The screen waited without judgment. I closed the laptop and wrote a single sentence in my notebook. No scene. Proof. Then air. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the lights will dim, the screen will wake, and the room will hear the one thing it cannot argue with. Dates. Dessert arrived as rows of small circles that pretended to be moons. Forks chimed. Candlelight found every glass and made it a throat. The audio technician leaned toward me with a clipped kindness. "We dim to 30%. Screen it full. Your file runs 2 minutes 58 seconds. I will count you down." He lifted a finger toward the planner's booth. "House lights down." Across the deck, Margot took the microphone and sent her voice into the air like perfume. "After dessert," she said, "we will enjoy a short Cousins montage prepared by Ava." She pronounced my name with the warmth of a hostess who has remembered to include every guest. People applauded politely. Serena smiled the practiced smile. Graham squeezed her hand. The technician looked at me. "Ready?" I nodded. He pressed play. A soft title in clean white type opened the screen. Cousins, with love. Children laughed through frosting. An ant in turquoise waved from a kitchen. 30 seconds of harmless joy anchored the room to a truth no one could argue with. Then the intertitle, Public Balcony. No audio. The room barely noticed the shift until the first still filled the screen. Serena and Dylan Kincaid at the pergola, a hand on a sleeve, the casual lean of people who have practiced closeness. No sound, only light and shape. A second still, tighter. A third that showed distance and context. The hedge, the path, the ocean behind them like a calm witness. The hum in the room thinned. Silverware stopped. Another intertitle, Public Posts. Public names, dates. Dylan's geotagged story from 1 hour earlier. Back where decisions get made stamped in the corner with the resort's location. Serena's tasting post from last month. His reflection behind her like a watermark. A press blurb from a foundation site announcing a creative advisory council that included Serena Whitaker. The date sat in the lower right corner, neat and indifferent. I watched faces instead of the screen. Graham's jaw changed shape. Serena remained very still, the way a person remains still when a glass has slid to the edge. Margot began to move toward the audio table and checked herself at the sight of so many eyes. She smiled at the room as if nothing were happening. It is difficult work to smile against gravity. The next card. Email from the planner to Ava. Keep it light. No heavy emotions. My name in the header, the date, the sentence. Not accusation. Context. The screen did not raise its voice. It merely stayed. The montage closed the circle with the cousins again, 30 seconds of ordinary affection. Then the screen went black. The lights returned to their polite setting as if the night had not moved. No one spoke first. Chairs did not scrape. Wind filled the space where a speech might have been. The technician took off his headset, set it down carefully, and breathed like a person who has carried something heavy and set it where it belongs. I did not wait for a scene to bloom. I stood, lifted my camera bag, and walked toward the side steps. No running, no bow. At the top of the stairs, I paused long enough to write one line in my notebook. Dates do not argue. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will leave the room to air, and the people I love will decide who they are without my help. I walked the long way around the ballroom, past service corridors where the air smelled like lemons and hot metal. Behind the catering wall, a busser stacked plates with the quiet mercy of routine. I stepped onto a side terrace where the wind met me clean and uncurious. The ocean kept its line. The sky did not comment. From the main deck, I heard the soft sound a room makes when people decide whether to pretend. A microphone clicked once, twice, then fell silent. Someone tried a laugh and abandoned it halfway. The wind gathered what fell. The audio technician came out through a staff door and stood a respectful distance away, headset loose around his neck. "Levels were fine," he said, as if that were the only news worth reporting. His calm steadied me. "Thank you," I said, "for keeping the frame true." He nodded. "We run what is on the sheet." He looked out at the water. "That is all." Then he returned to the cables that do not ask who deserves what. My phone buzzed in the bag. "Margot, where are you? We need to discuss what you did." "Serena, you humiliated me. Take it down. Issue a correction. Unknown number. Legal will be in touch." I let each message sit like leaves on water. I answered none. Silence can be a tool when speech would only shine a light on someone else's performance. Footsteps approached. Thomas Whitaker, my father, joined me at the railing and placed both hands on the stone as if it were a lectern he could trust. He looked older than the afternoon version of himself. The wind pressed his jacket back and he did not fix it. "I watched the screen," he said. "Dates. Names." He cleared his throat. "No adjectives." "That was the point," I said. He kept his eyes on the horizon. "Your mother is preparing language," he said. "She will describe intention, confusion, and the charity of private corrections. She will request that you apologize to the room for a misunderstanding, and then take a different seat in our family." "I will not," I said. He nodded once, almost imperceptibly, as if the answer matched a line he had already written somewhere he could not show me. "Then leave before other people discover microphones," he said. "I will handle what I can handle. I cannot hold the ocean back." "Do not try," I said. "Let the water do its work." He turned, finally looked at me, and searched for a sentence that would not make me smaller. He found one. "I saw you," he said. It was enough. He returned to the room that believes in explanations. I crossed the lower lawn where lanterns waited to be lit and followed a path toward the parking terrace. Halfway down the steps, Graham appeared at the top landing, shoulders squared the way people square them when they intend to walk downhill through an argument. He stopped when he saw I would not play. Between us stretched 30 marble steps and the whole weight of the screen. "There is nothing I need to hear," I said into the space that belonged to no one. He did not move. The wind chose for us and kept speaking. At the car, I placed the camera bag on the passenger seat and wrote 2 lines in my notebook. I did not raise my voice. I raised a screen. "I am leaving while the room decides who it is. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will wake to the remains of a story that tried to fix itself overnight, and a new voice will find me where the city keeps its art, By morning, the ocean light in my apartment window looked like a page that had been erased and was ready for new handwriting. My phone woke to the remains of a story that had tried to fix itself overnight. Margot. Ava. An explanatory note will go out at noon. We will frame last night as an unfortunate misunderstanding about private rehearsal materials. Please confirm that you regret the confusion. A short apology will steady the room. Serena. You broke my night. Issue a correction. Say you misread everything. Say you panicked. Unknown number. A statement is being drafted. Sign it. We will handle the rest. I read each message once. I did not answer. A correction requires a lie. A lie requires a future audience. I have decided I will not feed rooms that only eat people. I made coffee, washed the cup, and wrote 3 lines in my notebook. No apology for the light. No statements for rooms that sell air. No more work done for free. I took the Expo line west and walked Washington Boulevard, where Culver City keeps many small doors for art. The galleries were quiet in the hour before opening, when people who love walls are most honest. In the window of Lowell Projects, a postcard read, "Open Studio Prep. Knock." I knocked. Sabine Lowell opened the door with a pencil in her hair and tape on her sleeve. She had the alert, unhurried look of a person who trusts the time it takes to hang a straight line. "You must be Ava," she said, as if we had met already. "I saw your Migrant Hand series at the community center last year. Quiet work? Useful site? A friend texted me about last night. They said, someone chose proof over performance. I thought, that sounds like the same eye. It was a family thing," I said. "I will not exhibit any image from it. I do not litigate with art." "Good," she said. "I am not a courthouse. I am curious about your eye. What are you working on now?" "Rooms that do not invite you but cannot keep you out," I said. "Chairs by exits, screens that tell the truth with dates, hands that carry meals to people who forget they exist." I lifted my camera. Light that holds without performance. She walked me through 2 white rooms that smelled like new paint and lemon. On a work table sat a small stack of zines and a chalk line reel. "I am building a group show for late summer," she said. "Working title is Silent Frames. It is about restraint as choice. I would like 3 pieces from you. No spectacle. 3 photographs that can stand in a room and not ask for applause." She paused. "Write me an artist statement in 1 paragraph and bring proofs next week. We will hang if the work holds." I nodded. "It will hold," I said, and my voice did not shake. As I left, my phone buzzed again. "Thomas Whitaker. Your mother will send language. You are not required to carry it. Eat lunch. Maintain your hours." It sounded like the best sentence a father could manage with the tools he had. On the train back, I wrote a single line under the morning's 3. I will not apologize for a clean exposure. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, my mother's statement will arrive with a pen attached, and I will answer with work, not ink. At noon, my mother's statement arrived as a polished document with a polite demand. The subject line read, "Clarification for guests." The body asked me to sign for harmony. The draft said last night's screen had included private rehearsal material, that I had misinterpreted images taken in poor light, and that our family regrets any confusion. A paragraph near the end contained a quote in my name. I overreacted and apologize. I read every line once. I placed the phone face down on the table. Then I wrote 3 sentences and sent them without ornament. I do not consent to be quoted. Do not use my name or image. If you speak about me, the correct sentence is, Ava declined to comment. 5 minutes later, my father texted, "Understood. Name removed. Maintain your hours. Eat." It was his way of holding a rope without turning it into a leash. I made lunch, washed the plate, and took the train to the arts district where a print lab keeps its doors open to people who respect paper. The technician, Noah, had ink on his thumb and the unhurried posture of someone who believes in exposure and drying times. I laid 3 files on the counter, a chair by an exit under clean light, an audio table with coiled cables like quiet thoughts, and a pair of hands passing a plate through a service door. "Matt Barita," Noah said, almost to himself. No gloss. No applause. He ran small proofs, marked the borders with a soft pencil, and asked one question. "Do you want the blacks to close, or do you want them to breathe?" "Breathe," I said. "I want the room to decide without me." Back home, I wrote the 1-paragraph artist statement for Sabine Lowell. I photograph rooms that believe they are closed. I stand where any person could stand, and I do not add what is not there. I like chairs by exits, hands that carry weight without witnesses, and dates that hold their own light. I do not seek spectacle. I seek steadiness. My work is a door left open to air. I sent the paragraph and thumbnails to Sabine. She replied with 2 words. "Hang soon." A message arrived from Graham as the light moved across my floor. I saw the screen. I ignored what I knew. That is on me. I am ending what needs to end. I am sorry for the chair by the service doors. I sat with the words until they did not ask me for anything. Then I answered, "I wish you steadiness. I will not discuss the night." In the evening, Margot posted a careful note to the family list about privacy and moving forward. Elise captured it and filed it under record. I did not add commentary. I mounted my test prints on foam and stood them against the wall. The room accepted them without applause. Before sleep, I wrote 3 lines. I did not sign a correction. I sent a paragraph and 3 images. Work, not ink. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the gallery will test my steadiness. My mother will test the door again, and I will keep the light where it belongs. By midweek, the lab called to say the large prints were ready. Noah slid the archival sleeves across the counter with both hands as if handing over something alive. The blacks breathed the way we had planned. The paper held light without asking for applause. I carried the work to Lowell Projects in a flat box that made me walk carefully. Sabine Lowell met me with blue tape on her wrist and a small level that looked like a flute. We placed the first print on the wall and stepped back together. "This one goes at eye height," she said. "It tells a person how to stand." She measured, marked, and hung the 2nd and 3rd. The room changed quietly. The walls seemed to hold their shoulders in a better line. "Captions," she said. "Plain, no theater." I handed her 3 cards I had typed on heavy stock. Service door, 7:14 p.m. Guest video input, 5:42 p.m. Exit chair, 6:03 p.m. She read them once. "Good," she said. "Dates are enough." Her phone buzzed. She frowned, then handed it to me. An email from Whitaker Family Office had arrived at the gallery address, forwarded by a mutual acquaintance who likes to collect events. "We are planning an intimate supper for friends of the family. We would love Ava to offer a short toast celebrating sisterhood. We are also pleased to announce her as an advisory voice for our arts initiative." I returned the phone. "I will not attend," I said. "I do not consent to be named in anything that sells a story about us." Sabine nodded. "I will reply with 1 sentence," she said. "The artist declines and asks that her name not be used." She typed, sent, and slipped the phone into her pocket as if putting away a tool. A second message landed on my own screen 10 minutes later. "Margot. Ava, this is an opportunity. Let family repair family. We can frame your gallery moment as the first step in a new chapter. Dress simple. Speak for 60 seconds about forgiveness. The room will breathe. I read it twice. I did not answer. I placed my phone face down on the work table and held the level for Sabine while she checked a line. An hour later, a letter arrived from a law firm I did not know. Cease and desist from exhibiting images that defame or imply misconduct by our clients. Sabine skimmed it and shook her head. They have not seen the work, she said. There are no names, no faces, no event. We are exhibiting photographs of rooms. My counsel will send a short reply, 2 sentences, no adjectives. She called her attorney and spoke the way people speak when they trust paper. While she wrote labels, I walked the length of the gallery and felt my own breathing match the walls. Noah arrived with the final frames. We signed the backs, edition of 5, not because I wanted scarcity, but because limits make rooms behave. Sabine asked for a price list. I named numbers that honored the ink without punishing a person who believes in rent and food. She approved and printed a single sheet. Artist talk, she said. 15 minutes, craft only. I will protect the Q&A from drift. Thank you, I said. I will answer questions about exposure and paper. I will not answer questions about my mother. Her mouth tilted. Good boundaries make better light, she said. By sunset, the show looked like a decision. We turned off the track lights and stood in the dim. My phone buzzed with a final message from Serena. I cannot fix what I allowed. Do not make me your project. I will not make you my alibi. I read the lines and felt a door close without a slam. I wrote 2 sentences in my notebook. I will hang work, not explanations. Light belongs on paper, not on people. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the opening will test the room. My mother will test the door again, and I will speak 15 minutes about craft while leaving history in its box. Opening night smelled like new paint and citrus from the bowl by the door. Lowell Projects pulled its lights to a patient brightness. People arrived in 2s and 3s, the way a room learns to breathe. Sabine set a small sign on the desk that read, Craft Questions Welcome. Personal Histories Closed. It looked like a spine. At 6:40, a delivery person brought an extravagant bouquet with a card that said, For my talented daughter, from Margot. Sabine read the card once, then handed the flowers back. The artist declines gifts tonight, she said. Please return these to the sender with thanks. The delivery person did not argue. The scent of lilies turned and left with him. Noah stood near the back wall and watched the blacks breathe. A couple from Highland Park read the captions out loud, soft, as if not to wake them. Service door, 7:14 p.m. Guest video input, 5:42 p.m. Exit chair, 6:03 p.m. The clock times behaved like small bells. The room kept its shoulders level. At 7, Sabine tapped her pencil against the gallery desk. Artist talk begins, she said. I stood with both feet on the floor and spoke for 15 minutes about exposure, paper, and restraint. I explained why matte holds a room better than gloss when you are asking strangers to think. I spoke about standing where any person can stand and refusing to add what is not there. I did not say the words mother, sister, or wedding. The room accepted the boundary like a well-fitted frame. During the Q&A, a woman lifted her hand and tried to ask about the screen. Sabine stepped forward with a calm that felt like glass. Craft only, she said, and redirected to paper weights and border decisions. The woman nodded and asked about tape instead. The room exhaled. Thomas Whitaker arrived late, alone, with his jacket folded over his arm like a truce. He walked each print slowly, read the captions, and stopped at exit chair. He studied it as if a chair could teach a man how to stand. At the desk, he placed a card on the price sheet and spoke to Sabine in a voice that did not ask for privacy. "I would like to purchase number 2 in the edition," he said, "for my office." He spelled his name carefully as if signing a weather report. Graham came and left without approaching me. He stood in the doorway long enough to read craft questions welcome and to understand that the room would not make a stage for him. Dylan did not appear. Serena walked past the window once under an umbrella that did not need to be open. She did not come in. Near closing, a curator from a small museum in Long Beach asked if the set could travel. "Yes," Sabine said, before I could answer. "The work knows how to sit in public." We exchanged cards. The curator spoke dates like a person placing stones across a stream. The stream looked crossable. When the gallery emptied, Sabine locked the door and turned the lights down to a softer temperature. She handed me the small stack of comment cards. Most were simple, quiet and exact. Light that minds its own business. The last card said, "Thank you for choosing craft over spectacle." No signature. The handwriting looked like a person who keeps ledgers. Outside, the air held a clean cool. I walked to the train with the flat box under my arm and felt the city carry some of the weight. On the platform, I wrote 3 lines. The room decided without me. A chair taught a man how to stand. Craft kept the door open to air. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, a new invitation will arrive with a contract attached. My mother will test the hinges again, and I will choose where my work lives next. Morning in Culver City tasted like clean coffee and new tape. Sabine Lowell unlocked the gallery and handed me an envelope with a paper clip that did not pretend to be pretty. "From the Long Beach curator," she said. "Loan agreement and a modest catalog license. Read with a pen." We stood at the work table and moved through the pages slowly. Loan term, 4 months. Insurance, wall-to-wall. Credit line, my name and the series title. Reproduction rights, catalog and press only, no merchandise, no posters. Moral rights, artist attribution and integrity respected. The contract did not raise its voice. It named the walls, the dates, and the care. "Initial here, here, and here," Sabine said, "if you agree. We will counter on one line that asks for unlimited web use. We will limit it to their site and verified press." She underlined the sentence as neatly as a person ties a shoe. My phone buzzed with a second envelope that arrived through a different door. Whitaker Family Office sent a collaboration request. A letter on heavy stock proposed that the Whitaker Arts Initiative sponsor my series in exchange for exclusive edition rights, an accompanying fireside conversation about forgiveness, and an opportunity to display the work at an intimate supper for patrons. A draft contract trailed behind the letter like a net. Exclusivity, right of approval over future placement, a values alignment clause with no end date. Sabine looked over my shoulder and did not sigh. "That is a room that wants to name your walls," she said. "You may decline with 1 sentence." I replied with 3. "I will not grant exclusivity. I do not consent to appear at any event. Please remove my name from your materials." Before lunch, my mother sent a message that wore silk. "Ava, this is a chance to repair narratives. The foundation will acquire the whole edition for the family office. In return, you will agree to a brief conversation that reframes last week. We can heal in public." I read the lines twice and felt the hinge she wanted me to use. I answered with the sentence that fits inside every door I keep. Number at 2, the Long Beach curator called from a desk that sounded like Tide. "We have penciled dates," she said. "We will send a press note that names only the work, not the history. If anyone asks for more, we will say, the artist declines to discuss personal matters." Does that fit? "It fits," I said. "The work knows how to sit in public." We agreed on a delivery date and the order of the wall texts. Service door, guest video input, exit chair would hang left to right, the way a person learns a room. I rode the E-line back toward the river with the museum contract in my bag and a quiet that did not ask to be justified. On the platform, a child counted pigeons without trying to make them equal 7. The city held itself without my help. At home, I opened a folder named Where the Work Lives and placed 3 PDFs inside. Loan agreement lb.pdf, catalog license.pdf, decline family office.pdf, dull titles behave. I printed the first 2, signed where the paper asked, and slid them into a padded envelope. The third I kept as a record of a door that stayed closed. Evening carried a final test. Serena wrote, "Mother wants you at the supper even if you do not speak. She thinks your chair is part of the picture. I cannot carry that picture," I answered. "I wish you steadiness. I will not attend." She wrote back, "Understood." The word felt like a small, honest bridge. I stood my prints against the wall again and checked each corner with my hand. The paper did not tremble. I wrote 3 lines in my notebook. I chose a museum wall over a family stage. I signed what names care, not control. The work lives where air moves. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the loan will begin. A last bouquet will try the door, and I will learn how to leave a room without leaving myself. The art shipper arrived at Lowell Projects with a van that smelled like clean canvas and new wood. Sabine Lowell laid out condition reports on the work table and handed me a pencil that had never been chewed. We photographed each print unframed, then in its cradle, then inside the crate, with a ruler in the corner of every image like a small, honest witness. Loan Agreement LB sat beside us with 2 signatures and a date that behaved. "Paper, then foam, then wood," the shipper said, as if reciting a recipe that prevents harm. He sealed the crate and wrote "Exit chair," guest video input, service door in block letters across the lid. The van door slid shut with a balanced sound. Care left the driveway and headed toward Long Beach on a road that knows how to carry weight. 10 minutes later, a florist entered the gallery with a bouquet heavy enough to bend the wrist. White lilies, silver ribbon, a cream card. For healing, from Margot. Sabine did not sigh. She returned the flowers with 2 sentences. "The artist declines gifts. Please remove her name from your route." She photographed the bouquet for the record and filed the image under attempts. By noon, an envelope arrived from a polite firm that writes letters for parties who enjoy stages. Invitation and honorarium for an intimate supper on Friday. The artist will be seated near the hearth. A brief conversation about forgiveness will follow dessert. Sabine slid the paper back into its sleeve with a motion like a door closing. "I will answer," she said. 14 words. The artist declines and requests removal of her name from all materials. I left the gallery and drove east to Pasadena, where Thomas Whitaker had asked me to deliver his print. His office faced a courtyard with 3 olive trees that threw disciplined shadows at noon. He had cleared the wall himself. No decorator stood by to translate us. We hung exit chair together with a small level and 2 anchors that did not seek applause. He measured twice, then stepped back until his shoulders found a line with the frame. "This is the right height," he said. His voice sounded like a person who had practiced standing without a speech. He did not ask for the story behind the photograph. He did not offer one of his own. He looked at the chair for a long breath, then at me. "I am learning to let rooms fail on their own," he said. "I will not attend the supper." It was not defiance. It was removal of oxygen. "Good," I said. "You do not owe the water an explanation." He smiled a small, unpracticed smile. "Maintain your hours," he added, because that is what he knows how to give. I left the building lighter by exactly the weight of a frame. On my way home, the freeway shimmered the way heat makes distances look like invitations. My phone buzzed once. Serena. The supper shrank into a lunch. Then it canceled itself. Mother says calendars changed. I know what changed. Thank you for not coming. I wished her steadiness and did not drive by the restaurant to see Absence wearing a suit. At the apartment, I opened the sliding door 1 foot and locked it in place. Air moved through the room without asking to be named. I placed the Long Beach receipt in a folder called Where the Work Lives and placed the florist's photograph in a folder called Attempts, not because I was keeping score, but because dull records allow sleep. Before night, I wrote 3 lines in my notebook. I sent a wall to a museum and returned a bouquet to a sender. A father learned where to stand without borrowing my chair. I left a room without leaving myself. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the final part, the museum will hang the work, the ocean will keep its line, and I will write the sentence that lets the door stay open to air. The registrar at the Long Beach Museum checked each crate against a form that sounded like Tide. The preparators wore gloves and moved with the care of people who have practiced not being the story. Exit chair came out first, then guest video input, then service door. We stood in a quiet rectangle of white where a wall was about to remember its job. The curator placed the labels I had approved. Service door, 7:14 p.m. Guest video input, 5:42 p.m. Exit chair, 6:03 p.m. Dates were enough. The wall accepted them and did not argue. We hung the prints. The level blinked its small green circle and then went still. A guard stepped in, looked once, and said, "Good height." It felt like a blessing from a person who distrusts speeches. In the lobby, a child counted steps and failed to land on an even number. His father laughed without correcting him. The museum smelled like clean dust and the kind of air that has already decided not to hurry you. Sabine Lowell arrived in a dark jacket with a list and a pen. She skimmed the lighting cues and crossed out one that tried to make the walls dramatic. "Calmer," she said to the tech. "We are not staging a confession. We are hanging paper." At noon, we ran the lights at their lowest true setting. The blacks breathed. The captions behaved like small bells. The curator read the wall text out loud once, softly, to hear where the sentences held. This series considers rooms that believe they are closed. The artist stands where any person could stand and does not add what is not there. The work prefers restraint to performance. Nothing in it wanted newsprint. Good. Just before opening, a delivery arrived at the front desk. A small envelope, heavy stock, handwriting I know. For the catalog, a mother's note. The attendant looked at me. I shook my head. "Decline," I said. "Thank you for keeping the record clean." He placed the envelope in a drawer that holds things the museum does not display. Visitors arrived in a few slow lines, museum pace. Some paused in front of service door and tilted their heads the way a person tilts a glass to understand its weight. A pair of students whispered about paper stocks. A woman in a blue coat stood at guest video input and nodded as if a clean cable had told her a true sentence. Noah from the lab came and watched the blacks breathe the way we had planned. He raised a hand in greeting and did not interrupt the room. Thomas Whitaker walked in late, alone again, and took his place of choice, 3 feet from exit chair, shoulders aligned with the frame. He did not look for me. He let the wall do the work. On his way out, he placed a comment card at the desk. Quiet work. Honest light. The letters leaned slightly right, the way his handwriting has always leaned toward effort. By mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed. Serena, I am driving the coast. I turned around twice. I may come tomorrow instead of today. I am trying not to use rooms as alibis. I answered, the work will be here. No hurry. A minute later, she wrote, I booked a session with a counselor who does not take sides. I will try to stop taking scripts. I wished her steadiness and put my phone away. The wall did not need it. I stood at a distance where I could see all 3 prints at once, left to right, the way a person learns a room. A woman read the captions and then the wall text. She wiped her eye with the back of her hand, not because the work asked for tears, but because something in the air had stopped asking to be heavy. She left no note. She left the room better than she found it. Near closing, a figure paused in the entry and stayed there, hands on a purse strap that did not need adjusting. Margot. She did not cross the threshold. She looked once, long, the way a person looks at a door they have closed from the wrong side. Her shoulders tightened, then eased. She turned and left without sending a text. I did not follow. I did not need the scene she did not start. After hours, the preparators dimmed the lights to the setting the guards prefer. The museum released us to the evening. Outside, the ocean kept its line the way a good sentence keeps its verb. I walked along the water until my breathing matched what waves do when no one names them. At home, I slid the balcony door open 1 foot and locked it in place. Air moved through the room without asking for applause. I placed the museum ticket stub in a dull folder called Where the Work Lives, and I placed the heavy envelope photograph in a Temps, not as a warning, but as a record of a day that had chosen better light. Before bed, I wrote my last 3 lines. I chose a wall, not a stage. I did not win by winning. I won by refusing to perform. I leave the door open to air and the lock engaged. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. Tell me one small boundary that made your life steadier, and I will read every word.